Well. Where was this pay-per-view last year?
We're back. We are back.
Yeah. So,
And
yeah.
right off the bat, I can say that this is the most emotion that I've seen in a wrestling show in a very long time, especially from WWE. I should say that this is the most emotion I've seen from a WWE pay-per-view in a very long time. Genuine emotion.
Yeah. I'm obviously, judging from the shirt I have on, I am extremely disappointed at the outcome, how this pay-per-view ended. But honestly, I don't really have a whole lot to complain about with this show. And the reason why I brought up that question at the beginning was a lot of my viewers know that Tomas and I were actually in attendance for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view last year, which was a total disaster. But this show...
I don't know what you're talking about. I saw Mustafa Ali counter the RKO in a very unique way that I haven't seen since.
No, that's not what I'm referring to. I don't want to get into that, but Seth Rollins and The Fiend in the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time, surely. But no, I don't think so. Never mind. But yeah, obviously we're talking about Hell in a Cell 2020, live, of course, from the Thunderdome. It ran pretty much like a normal WWE show. I was kind of worried how they were going to get the Hell in a Cell into that building, but they figured it out. They got it
done.
Yeah,
they really got it done. It's more of that WWE magic, honestly. They even got to do the dramatic lowering of the cell and everything, which I didn't think they were going to be able to pull off.
And there was one point where they were lowering the Hell in a Cell, and they actually, so they don't have fans, in the front row, obviously, so they have the capability of doing this. But as the cell was being lowered, I think it was right before the main event, but there was fire at ringside being shot up from, different levels. Literally, these guys are going to hell. And I'm like, man, that's a cool visual. That's a really, really cool visual. But yeah, props.
Absolutely. And I like how they're able to utilize the different levels of the Thunderdome. Again, there's no people there, so they can light off pyro without lighting anybody on fire, which I think is great.
Yeah, props to WWE for experimenting with this Thunderdome because it still looks damn cool. And I'm glad they actually got that extension with Amway Center done, at least through Survivor Series. And it'll probably...
Oh, I'm sure as long as WWE is putting on semi-decent stuff, or Vince is able to pull out the green stuff, if you know what I mean, the WWE will be good to go until March or April, which,
when
at least is WrestleMania is going to be in a stadium with actual people in it in 2021.
And that'll lead me to my theory that I have about some of the booking on this show. Stay tuned till the end for that theory to my viewers and to Tomas also, because I was telling him about this theory before we started recording, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep it in here for right now, and I'll go through it. But
and with 3 Hell in a Cell matches on this show, which I was a little scared about to begin with, we are kicking this match off in a big way with the Universal Championship on the line. Roman Reigns defending against Jey Uso, the very first time a Hell in a Cell match is being contested with a second stipulation on top of that.
Yes.
An I quit match. The only way to win this cell match is to make your opponent say, I quit. And the first thing I want to say about this match is that the entrances felt special. Like Jey Uso's entrance especially, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's Jey or just WWE's presentation of him, but I believe in this guy now. For being just one half of a twin brother tag team, I believe in Jey Uso.
The Usos were awesome even before this, but starting off hot with that I Quit match. First time a Hell in a Cell has an added stipulation onto it, like you're playing WWE 2K14 and you're putting it in Match Creator and you're like, okay, how do you want this Hell in a Cell match to end? I'm like, let's do an I Quit match here, and then you just toggle over. And I think that's really cool that WWE is allowing that capability. But Jey Uso, like you said, presents himself really well. Roman Reigns, though, the entitled dickhead Roman Reigns is just phenomenal. I love this iteration of his character. I love the tribal chief. Michael Cole also mentions on his way down that Roman is actually undefeated entering this match inside Hell in a Cell, which is a big deal.
I'm glad you brought that up because he beat, he didn't lose against Braun Strowman in 2017 before he had to relinquish the title.
That's true.
He
That's
beat
true.
Miro the year before for the United States
Yeah.
title, and he beat Bray Wyatt in 2015. What was the fourth cell he was in?
It was oh god, it was so Roman beat
Bray
Miro.
Wyatt in
Yeah, that's
2015.
correct.
Yeah, he beat
Bray
Bray
Wyatt,
Wyatt in 2015, and he
20
didn't lose against Braun Strowman in
2018.
2018.
No, he didn't. No, I think
And
that
last year
was
he wasn't in the cell match. He was in that tag team
no.
match.
He was in that
Unless
awesome
they're saying
tornado
he's
tag.
undefeated at the pay-per-view.
No, he's undefeated like inside Hell in a Cell, but he's only been in 3 cell matches before this, so that was it.
They must have said 4 by accident then.
They must have. Yeah.
Because
No, this
I
is
can't remember
this
except
is
Wyatt, Strowman, and Miro. I can't remember anybody else he fought.
It is his 4th time entering the Hell in a Cell. Maybe that's what they meant. But
Yeah, now, I mean, spoiler alert, now he's 4-0
yeah.
Hell in a Cell matches.
Totally.
And the number one question I had going into this match was, how could they top Clash of Champions? Because the story of Clash of Champions was Jey fought his hardest to beat Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship, but Roman Reigns began the beatdown. He began the disrespect.
He did.
He began the "you will call me tribal chief." The only difference this time was Jimmy couldn't throw in the towel for his brother Jey this time.
Nope.
The match would not end until somebody said, "I quit." So I was wondering, with the heart of Jey and the stubbornness of Reigns, how is this match going to end? And oh man, and I will say right now, before we go into this play for play, the emotion in this match alone did it for me. The in-ring work was good. The storytelling was phenomenal. But the pure emotion alone of both Reigns and both Uso brothers, which, yes, Jimmy did get involved in this match again,
Yep.
was impeccable.
Torn ACL and all. Mad props.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the Samoan dynasty that are just all good actors.
Mad props to everybody involved. This is I think this is honestly some of the finest character work I've ever seen out of a WWE match. This was just so good. This was also, forgot to mention, this is also the first I Quit match in WWE since Cena and Miro in 2015, oddly enough. Which is weird to me, thinking that, the announcers
5
mentioned,
years?
yeah, the announcers mentioned this is the first I Quit match in WWE in more than 5 years, and I'm like, really? So the last one must have been Cena versus Miro at Payback, and like, I don't know, maybe I just thought there were more like in that little gap there, but heck, what do I know? I'm just I'm just a fan. I'm just an observer. But
when they say things like that, you can't help but think. But yeah, I can't believe there hasn't been an I Quit match in WWE in 5 years.
Yeah, but this match,
and another aspect of this match that I noticed was they weren't doing the usual referee puts a mic to the wrestlers' mouths to say if they want to quit or not. They used that magic that they've been doing lately with the in-ring mics being able to pick up everything.
Yep.
And I understand it because there's nobody in the arena for them.
They don't need that microphone.
For them, it's not necessary to use the microphone.
No.
So I think that just tapped into the more of the dramatic tension of the matchup, where you could hear every single thing that Jey, Reigns, and what the referee were saying too.
Yeah,
because the referee played a big part in this match as well.
You could tell this matchup was personal. Also, Roman Reigns looked so vicious in this contest, like just throwing Jey Uso around the ring like he's just absolutely nothing. A vicious Roman uppercut, and I wrote down, and I quote data from the Goonies, he looks really pissed off. But
good one.
Yeah, Roman, oh man, he was just killing this poor guy. But Jey is fighting back, though. Give him credit. He was throwing topes everywhere. Where was Mauro Ranallo to call those? Jey Uso also cursing up a storm in this match. I was kind of shook by that. I was like, that's not PG.
Someone in the truck forgot to have their finger on the censor button ready for that one.
Yeah.
The match was pretty standard. It didn't start picking up until Roman Reigns threw his first spear. And that's when I thought, holy crap.
And he exploded out of that corner with the spear, didn't he? I feel like every spear he hit got even harder.
The first spear was something. The second spear, that wasn't even a normal spear. It looked like he just launched his shoulder into poor Jey Uso's his upper chest area.
The sternum. The sternum is where he hit him. Like, near the anatomy
heart.
speaking. Like the little the hard part of your chest that protects the heart, Like,
Yeah, that
he
whole
hit
rib
Jey
cage
right
area just
there.
exploded.
Oh, yeah. I also wrote down Roman is coming off like a douchier version of Vito Corleone in this match. Like, I wrote down, "You're going to wish you quit after one spear." I wrote down that quote, and I'm like, this is Vito Corleone if he was an island chief instead of just a mafia boss, and a bad guy. Like, a
Yeah,
really
yeah.
bad guy. Like,
Yeah, and then the match got even more interesting when Jey pulled out a strap, like a leather strap. And the first thing I
yes.
thought was these guys could also have a great Samoan strap match
Yes, they
because they
could.
used that strap very well. Those were some very, very hard lashes from Jey. And that's
Oh,
when we
man.
realized finally Jey was getting the upper hand in this feud for the first
Mm-hmm.
time. This is the most offense he's had between this and the Clash match. But did that turn
Yeah.
around oh so quickly?
It did. Roman exploded with another spear. It knocks the wind out of Jey, and he's telling the ref, "I can't breathe." And that's the point where this match got really uncomfortable to watch almost. I was just sitting
Even
there
more
like,
than Clash,
yeah.
believe it or not.
I was
Even more than
just,
Clash.
uh,
If I'm gonna criticize this match at all, this is when the moment I realized this doesn't need to be in the cell.
it really didn't. No. Like, I
And
mean, it was
an I
nice.
quit match alone, it was either an I quit. It should have been an I quit match or a Hell in a Cell match. Having
Yeah.
an I quit match in the cell really didn't add anything.
It
But
was,
continue with your thought.
I was just going to say, like, I think it was nice to have the cell there, but I feel like one of my little nitpicks that I had with this match is that I wish they kind of used the cell a little bit more. Like, I wish
Yeah,
they used the
yeah.
environment like more to their advantage. There were times where Jey would throw Roman into the cage, but this was mostly in the ring. It wasn't really like,
Because
all over the cage.
as we'll look into the other cell matches later in the night, especially Bayley and Banks,
Yeah.
they were using weapons. They were
Hmm.
using kendo sticks and steel chairs and ladders and all this stuff. And I feel like if Jey and Reigns weren't going to do that, then they didn't need the cell.
Yeah.
They could have just stuck with the regular icon because I think the strap was the only weapon that got brought into this match, if
Um,
memory serves me correct.
I think there were. Let me see.
Was
They
there a
brought.
chair?
I think they brought chairs into it. Yeah. So Jey tried to hit him with a chair. After he's asking Roman to quit, he was trying to choke Roman Reigns out with that Samoan strap too. And I was like,
Okay, yeah,
"Oh
we're at that
fuck,
point
the
in that match.
referee's gonna stop this match, isn't he?" Well,
Well,
like,
looking at that, that was okay. That was a great spot, first of all. How he just, hog-tied Roman Reigns up. And I like how they hid the choke by pulling Reigns' arm in front of his throat. Because if you look under that, you could see the strap was clearly around Reigns' throat. And one thing I have
yeah,
learned from listening to various interviews the past few weeks is that, I mean, we all knew this, but choking is a big no-no in
yep,
WWE. And it's
hmm
not just a Vince thing, it's a sponsor thing. If the sponsors see choking, then they're going to withdraw and they can't lose that. So
yeah,
I think they hid. I think they could not do this spot if Jey was not choking Reigns, but I think they hit it very well because this
totally,
wasn't like when John Cena tied the rope around Miro's face in that I Quit match, oddly
yeah,
enough, that we're referencing back to. But that was a great spot. I loved how Reigns passed out. And then I felt like with a jolt of electricity, he sprang back to life. And Jey
yep.
had to jump right back on top of him and tie that strap right back around him.
Yeah. No, Jey tried to. It literally felt like they were trying to kill each other in this match to get their way. Like, it literally felt like, I'm going to make that Lion King reference again. It literally felt like that climax between Simba and Scar, trying to become the king of the Pride Lands almost.
It's a
Um,
power struggle within the family,
hmm Yep. Roman hits a Superman punch, countering out of a chair shot, and then Roman puts on his new submission finisher, the guillotine choke.
which
Um,
looks good.
Yeah, yeah, and Jey Uso is out of it for a while, and the
Yeah,
referee is really trying to stop the match
yeah.
because he's
And
not
I
really.
like how they referenced the guillotine choke. That's how Roman Reigns beat Braun Strowman. Because if you think about it, that's
Yeah,
a giant killer move.
it
That's the
is
tranquilizer to take down the elephant. And if Reigns can utilize that move on a guy like Braun Strowman, then he can murder a guy like Jey Uso with that move.
yeah.
Which I think that again, just an excellent addition to Reigns' arsenal.
Oh,
And then yeah,
totally.
that's when again the emotion starts picking up. The referee starts asking, do you want to quit? Jey, all you got to do is quit. The match will be over. All you got to do is quit. And I noticed, I don't know, yeah, it was at this point where Paul Heyman said something and Roman Reigns told him to shut his mouth. And at this point, looking at the character development between this, I looked at this as Paul Heyman, this is all your fault. You created this monster and you're not in control anymore. Paul Heyman is not in control of this monster.
He's not.
And if you look at Paul Heyman's facial expressions, it looks like he knows that. Like he regrets this alliance with Roman Reigns because he brought something out in Roman Reigns that not even he could at least contain Brock Lesnar. He can't contain Roman Reigns.
Totally. You know, even
so this whole thing is just
even really Paul Heyman, the creator of Extreme Championship Wrestling, thought this went too far, which is really saying something. And honestly, this is not the theory that I was talking about earlier on in the show, but honestly, like this talk about Roman and Paul Heyman, this character development is kind of making me think of what would happen if Paul Heyman thinks Roman is taking this too far. Maybe he does bring Brock Lesnar back and six him on Roman and takes the Universal title off of him that way. You know, like
that's an idea.
I know you don't like a part-time champion in Brock Lesnar, my friend, and I don't either, believe me. But honestly, I think this Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar would be a killer match. Not like WrestleMania 34 at all, but
oh yeah, it's an idea for sure. And you know, a rare instance where Brock Lesnar would be the babyface in the situation.
Yep, exactly. First time since 2015 he would be a babyface. But so it gets to the point Roman is hitting Jey with the drive-by drop kick on the outside, and he is begging. The referee is begging Jey Uso to say I quit at this point, and Jey is just not budging an inch, and the ref is really, really wanting to stop it. But apparently the match can't end on virtue of Jey Uso being dead. Like
even though the ref does try to do it though. He does go to signal for the bell, but Roman Reigns immediately cuts him off. And you know, I forgot what he said, but he said something along the lines of no, you're out. And then he throws the referee out of the ring. And again, we just reviewed Judgment Day 2002, and I got some bad like flashbacks. I was like, oh no, don't throw him against the cell wall. Don't separate this guy's shoulder too. And then this is when I got a little teensy bit scared because the referee started coming in, and Pat Buck was in there, and Adam Pearce was in there, and Jamie Noble was in there, and I was just like, do not throw this match out for a third year in a row. Do not throw the match out. But then I started getting really intrigued. I'm like, how is this match going to end? Yeah. And then that's when, you know, Roman Reigns just starts, you know, he starts begging Jey, like, you know, I don't want to do this. You're making me do this. All you had to do was refer to me as the tribal chief, but you're making me do this.
Roman's almost in tears at this point. Also, like, just, again, incredible character work. Like, he has to do this to, like, basically, like, I know he's literally his cousin, but this is like a brother to him that he's doing this to. Like,
but then speaking of brothers, here comes Jimmy.
Jimmy to the rescue.
The ring. And he, you know, he throws himself onto his brother, and he tells Reigns, like, you know, stop it, just stop this. And this honestly got me a little choked up when he told him, whatever you're going through, like, we can get through this. Like, we got you, man. Like, kind of like Jimmy is saying, like, you know what? Yeah, everything that's happened in the past couple months. Like, we can get through this because we're family. And he extends his hand out to Reigns, and Reigns is on the ground. He's crying. He's saying he's sorry. Yeah. And I was just so sucked in at this point.
I was too, man.
I saw it coming, but I was just like, I was immersed.
You know,
it's
honestly,
one of those rare moments.
Honestly, I was kind of like, I honestly didn't really see it coming, but at the same time I did. I was just like, oh God, are they turning Roman babyface again?
No, it was at that point when I realized, like, Jey's not going to quit no matter what unless Reigns puts his hands on Jimmy, which is exactly what happened. Reigns slapped on the guillotine choke. Jey was revived. The minute he saw Jimmy in trouble, he quit.
Yeah,
he basically threw in the towel for himself.
Reversing the roles there. You know, he said, I quit to save his brother's hide. You know, his brother injured. Yeah. You know, Roman Reigns is a dickhead, man. He's a jerk. Like,
yeah.
Oh,
and man. I love it.
Beautiful, beautiful
criticizing
match.
This man while wearing his shirt because beautiful. 4 stars.
Yeah,
Four,
4
four
stars from
stars.
me as well. Definitely
Great
better than
opener,
Clash.
great emotion. Yeah,
Yeah.
great storytelling. And then the point of the match, I mean, after the match, what really surprised me was that going up the ramp, Roman Reigns is greeted by the Wild Samoans,
Yep.
his uncle Sika and his father Appa. And in the biggest plot twist in my mind, they are embracing Reigns. They're kind of like, they're condoning it. They condoned his actions. They gave him the lay. They gave him a hug, and they kind of said, yes, you are the tribal chief. And that's what kind of shocked me, because I'm thinking, like, no, this is not, I don't think Reigns' family would agree, but it looks like the elders do agree.
Yeah.
And here is my thing. I don't think they'll do this, but I think it would be really cool if Rikishi showed up on SmackDown.
Oh,
If
man.
Rikishi showed up on SmackDown just to get in Reigns' face and, just berate him for the disrespect, for berating him for what he did to his sons. I'm not saying no. I do not want to see Rikishi versus Roman Reigns.
No.
But I would like to see Rikishi return and cut a promo on Reigns, and then Reigns beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, as fun of an idea as that is, I gave this match 4 stars as well, by the way. Definitely a better match than the Clash. As fun of an idea as that is, though, with Rikishi, I don't think that's going to happen, because I think this feud with Jey Uso is over at this point.
Oh, no, not as a continuation. I just think it'd be cool just because the family dynamic.
Yeah.
That they brought the Wild Samoans in to basically, give their blessing to Roman Reigns.
It
and
would
just,
be,
to know all this time. Again, and it's a shame we're probably not going to get it this year, but this would be perfect build-up for Roman Reigns versus The Rock.
I agree. I agree. If WrestleMania was happening in LA this year, it's probably not at this point, but like, I would be the first one to buy a ticket if it was Roman versus The Rock headlining that show. Like,
that would be perfect. And again, I don't think they're gonna do it either. Which when I saw that, I thought it'd be cool. I'm like, what if Rikishi showed up on SmackDown just to cut a promo on Reigns and get speared, and just have the Usos to come out and say, like, okay, now you really took it too far. I don't think the feud's going to continue after this. And I'm really curious to see how Survivor Series is going to pan out and what they have planned there. Because looking at it right now, I don't want to see that champion versus champion match, because I don't think the fans want to cheer for either of those guys.
No. Again,
with that being said,
I'll get into it once I get into my theory at the end. But, I mean, brilliant performances from everybody. Excellent opener. I mean, this storyline is slaying. My only thing that's really keeping this match from being that 5-star classic, because keep in mind, I only gave it a 4. It's not only the fact that this really did not need to be in the cell, considering how little they used it compared to the other two. And the second thing is also the predictability. Again, I love the Usos, but there was no way in hell that Jey Uso is winning this title.
No. Not this early into this particular title reign for Roman.
No.
Because if this was Reigns holding the title for like 6-7 months, and this was after Mania and all that, then I could totally believe them putting the title on Jey, but this is the Roman Reigns show until WrestleMania at least. So, and he just won the title like a couple months ago. So,
and it's like, who the fuck is going to take the title off of this guy? Because he looks freaking dominant, even through 2 title defenses, or 3 if you count the SmackDown match against Braun. But I mean, how do you follow that with a match between Jeff Hardy and Elias? Elias is someone we have not talked about on this show yet. And I think, honestly, this is going to be a hot take. I think Elias has improved tremendously since he was called up to the main roster a few years back. In ring, he looks better than he ever has, I think.
Elias is excellent. He's a fantastic wrestler. He can cut promos like no other. And that guitar in his hand isn't a gimmick, brother.
No.
It's for real.
Not.
He can play guitar. He can sing. He can play the drums. He can play the piano. This guy is magnificent.
I don't know about the sing part.
I didn't say he was good at it. You don't think he's a good singer? You don't think Elias is a good singer? Because I think he's pretty good, all things considered.
He's not on the level of I don't know, like an Andrew Rannells or a Josh Gad. Of course not.
Oh, no.
He's not on a Broadway level. He's not I don't think he's a trained singer. But folk-wise, I mean, he can. I mean, he did plug that he is releasing a new album tomorrow called Universal Truth, and he does his usual Elias stick singing a song.
His concert last week on Raw, I was very impressed. I was
And
very
then-
impressed.
And then the man who sings his own theme song all the time in TNA interrupts the concert, which
Yeah.
reminds me, I wrote down also, when can No More Words come back? Because I miss that damn song.
Every single week. I know that was a part of Jeff Hardy's contract negotiation when he re-signed with WWE, that he would re-sign if he got to use that theme song. So I'm just wondering, when the hell is it going to be?
I don't know. Probably when live crowds are allowed to come back, I would assume. But
so Elias is facing Jeff Hardy, and this is a continuation from a kind of a feud that started back in May.
Yep, it's built around the fact that Jeff accidentally hit Elias with a car to write Elias off of television because he actually tore his pectoral and he needed surgery, so they had to think of a way to write him off. And
well, he supposedly hit Elias with the car.
Supposedly. This is during that whole phase.
Up on that story.
This is during that whole Jeff Hardy summer feud with Sheamus, when Sheamus was like challenging Jeff about the like DUIs and trying to overcome the
They never followed up on it though, which I will say Jeff Hardy must totally be okay with people bringing up his addiction, because Elias was all over that in his opening promo.
He roasted Jeff Hardy about that, and I'm like,
he did not pull any punches.
That cut deep, man. Like, I was just sitting there like, God damn.
But there's no way Elias isn't making these references without Hardy's permission.
Yeah.
So Jeff Hardy must be okay with it.
Yeah, but this match, honestly, like looking at my notes, like the play-by-play, it really wasn't anything too spectacular, in all honesty.
No.
Like, it was kind of typical traditional match. There were some slick counters.
Elias did have a really good spot, though. I wanted to point out, it was that electric chair into a powerbomb, which I thought was
that one.
I thought that was good.
That one wasn't as clean as I wanted it to be. I mean, I did notice it was kind of awkward, the transition into the powerbomb.
Also, look what this match had to follow.
That's true. That's very true.
This was definitely the rest match out of two that we had to have.
I was definitely gassed after that Universal title match. That's for sure. But
so this is a match we're gonna see like 6 more times on Raw.
Yes.
This is a warm-up feud for Jeff Hardy. You know, this feud should be used to put Elias over, but
it's
Jeff Hardy.
Mark my words, my friend. This is a warm-up feud for Jeff Hardy before he's fed to the Fiend. Because you know where this is going. Jeff Hardy is gonna have to face the Fiend at some point. They're both on Raw,
and that's gonna be a drastic character change for Jeff Hardy.
Oh, could you imagine him bringing Willow into the WWE?
Oh, there's been rumors that he wants to do it. So would be interesting for sure.
That'd be a way to do it. For sure,
the match ends
the Fiend.
Very disappointingly, though.
Yeah.
With a fight to the outside, Elias introduces the guitar. He misses, though, because Jeff Hardy gets the catch on him first. And in the great words of Brian Zane, Jeff Hardy El Kabongs Elias over the back with the guitar. There's a disqualification finish. I thought Elias would at least go over in this match, and then Jeff Hardy can beat him 4 times in a row. But obviously, they're holding that off for a Monday Night Raw match.
Yep. According to the dirt sheets, apparently Elias is supposed to get a big push on Monday Night Raw, and this is not the way to start it with a DQ win over Jeff Hardy,
No.
I would at least have him pin Jeff Hardy clean in the middle of the ring if you want to at least give him a push to the top, but...
Yeah, and considering who the WWE champion is right now, I think Elias should be a babyface.
Yeah.
I don't know why WWE does not believe in Elias as a babyface, but I do, and I think he was doing better on his last run on SmackDown. But WWE is relentless with Jeff Hardy, I believe, so they had to have to feud against somebody.
This was a Raw match. Yeah, this was a Raw match. Yeah, I gave the match 2.25 stars. I gave the match 2.25. I mean, the work was fine overall in the long run. I didn't really have an issue with the in-ring work, really, but that ending really ruined it for me. I mean, like I said, they're going to have more matches. Maybe they'll have one at TLC, because Survivor Series is probably going to be brand warfare again. But
and with that being said, that's 2 months away, so they're probably going to wrestle a lot on Raw. Expect
Yeah,
that.
yeah, probably. You know, maybe some stipulations thrown in there, maybe. But before we get
Yeah.
into the next match, we get a little video package actually, which I do actually want to discuss because this was fucking
Exactly.
awesome. Law
This was
and
a very,
Otis.
very, very funny segment.
It was
Law and
so
Otis
funny.
was it was a segment they did on SmackDown where,
Oh,
as you know, if you've been following, The Miz and John Morrison sued Otis for the Money in the Bank briefcase. They're trying to win the briefcase in court. And when I was watching this segment, I was giggling throughout the entire thing. You had Judge JBL, first of all,
yep.
with the bailiff being Ron Simmons. And the minute I saw
Yes.
Ron Simmons, like, oh, great, Bradshaw's the judge. And they
And
go
Ron
through the entire
Simmons,
thing. They're doing.
Ron Simmons wasn't even wearing like a police attire. He was wearing an APA T-shirt and jeans. That's the
He
bailiff.
was, which I'm just like, imagine the APA versus Miz and Morrison. This
Oh
was like 10
man,
years
that
ago.
would be
I'd
so
love to
much
see
fun.
that.
But anyway, yeah, there was another fun little segment where they actually showed people on the witness stand. Like Rey Mysterio gave like was cross-examined.
When I
and
saw that on SmackDown, I was
Asuka,
like, why the fuck is Rey Mysterio there? And then
Asuka
Asuka was like, oh yeah, that's
was
right. Asuka was in the
cross-examined.
match too.
And then JBL looks over at the stenographer and he's like, "Did you catch all that?" And the stenographer is none other than Teddy Long.
Teddy Long.
Oh, it was
That made me
so
smile.
great. And it all leads up to this match where the winner becomes Mr. Money in the Bank, Otis versus The Miz.
Okay, first of all, the complaint is going to start right now.
Here
The
we
Money in the
go.
Bank briefcase is not a title, and it should not be defended like one.
Why not?
No.
Why not?
No. Okay,
It was
this is
defended
not.
before.
I didn't agree with it then. I don't agree with it now. The Money in the Bank briefcase is not a title. It should not be defended like one. If they're going to go through the trouble of putting the briefcase on someone, I would really appreciate it if WWE went through with it. And this is not just with Otis. This is the same complaint that everyone's had with Damian Sandow. Hell, I'll even defend King Corbin with it.
Mr. Kennedy.
I mean, at least with him, he was injured, but I still don't believe the Money in the Bank briefcase should be defended like it's a title. If you're going to put the briefcase on somebody, at least go through with it.
At least
WWE.
mean it.
Yeah, go through with it.
That was my problem with the whole Money in the Bank ladder match. I was just like, really? Otis won it? Like, don't get me wrong, I love Otis, but like when you had someone like AJ Styles in that match who just came off of being fucking killed by The Undertaker in the Boneyard match.
I appreciate WWE going with somebody new. That
briefcase was perfect for AJ. I'm still peeved, but
I mean, who's to say he's not going to win it next year?
AJ
AJ Styles is a guy that can win the briefcase literally anytime he wants. I respected WWE with going with somebody who was getting over with the crowd because pre-pandemic in January and February, Otis was over. Otis was getting the Kofi Kingston treatment.
But here's the thing though. When Otis won, like the briefcase dropped into his hands and I was like, that guy is going to win the title. Like, I'm not saying like, just based on like his look or anything, but I was like, I just didn't believe that Otis was going to beat like Roman Reigns, for example, to win the Universal title.
Okay. People who say that are the same people that said that Daniel Bryan was too little to be the world champion. That said that Daniel Bryan couldn't beat Batista. There are people who go against people that don't look like the stand. And I'm not saying you are saying that. I'm just saying back in the day, people did not believe in Daniel Bryan because he was too small. Vince McMahon did not believe in Daniel Bryan because he was too small. People didn't believe in guys like, there was even a time people didn't believe in guys like AJ Styles because they were too small.
People did not believe in guys like Eddie Guerrero.
Exactly. That's my point being. So
I'm not saying that Otis is in the same league as those guys, clearly. But, like...
This is what I've noticed from Otis. This is what I've noticed from Otis ever since I started watching him with NXT. He has charisma. He's extremely relatable. He's over with the crowd. And he's not bad in the ring. And also, one thing I want to give props to Otis to, looking at him from last year, he has dropped a ton of weight.
He has. And also they gave him a spanking new theme song that I noticed. And I was like, did Dale Oliver of TNA sing this? It sounded exactly like Long Necks and Rednecks that James Storm used.
Yeah, it did sound familiar.
It sounded exactly like that.
So to go even more complaints about this feud, the WWE draft just happened. So we got a bunch of new additions to Raw and SmackDown. The Miz and John Morrison got drafted to Raw. Otis got drafted to SmackDown.
That makes me think
His tag team partner Tucker got drafted to Raw. Heavy Machinery is now split up. They obviously want to push Otis. What the fuck are they going to do with Tucker?
I don't see anything wrong with it at all.
No, neither do I.
I'm kidding. Not. Oh, and also you mentioned another name in there, which I kind of want to talk about. John fucking Morrison. Like, why was he not in this match? Like, The Miz has already been Mr. Money in the Bank. Like, you could rocket strap John Morrison to the WWE title. And I think John Morrison is miles ahead of The Miz in the ring. But
it's just another reason. Again, this match and this feud was booked so weirdly.
Yeah.
And the match itself was decent. I like this match a lot more than Jeff Hardy and Elias.
It was so fun.
Yeah, I think Otis and The Miz clicked together very well.
They did. And that statement that I just made about Morrison being better than The Miz is not a knock on Miz at all, because I've been a fan of The Miz for a long, long time. I think he's just really, really good. I really respect how safe The Miz is in the ring, too. I like, if you put anybody in there with The Miz, I feel like they would trust him 100%.
Oh, yeah. But I'm glad you brought up that Morrison point, because I didn't even think about that. Because when we get to the end of this match, like, we don't even know, like, again, and Otis was throwing some good shoulder tackles. Miz was selling it very well. Miz was doing his usual offense. It was the same usual stuff you're used to seeing from guys like Otis and Miz, but they just clicked together very well.
Yeah.
Near the end of the match, Otis is going for the Caterpillar. And that's when Morrison pulls him out of the ring. And Tucker gets involved. Morrison grabs the briefcase, and he is ejected from ringside. He drops the briefcase, and I saw Tucker making his way to that side of the ring, and I was just like, I saw it coming. Like, I know what they're going to do, and I don't know how to feel about this.
That's what happened. So basically what he's getting into, Morrison didn't hit Otis with the contract. Like, he grabbed it and he was about to, but then the referee turns around and catches him red-handed right before he's about to. And she says, "That's it. You're out of here." And Morrison walks to the back. Basically, The Miz is, like, all sad. He has those puppy dog eyes of, like, what? My partner's being sent to the back? And, like, that gives Otis enough time to roll up The Miz for a 2 count. And then he hits Brody Lee's discus lariat for a very close 2 count. I was surprised to see Otis pull that move out. I was like, okay,
that was a
lariat.
Fun spinning clothesline. Like, Otis,
if he wants to use that as a finisher, it's a lot better than the Caterpillar. It's my same problem with the worm.
Caterpillar. Here's the reason why I defend the Caterpillar. Otis is a 300-pound man, and him coming down on you with that elbow is gonna hurt a hell of a lot more than 100-pound Scotty 2 Hottie hitting you in the throat with a chop.
Good point. Yeah. But here's the thing. All that setup, like, that doesn't disqualify the Caterpillar. As remarkable as it is that a man of Otis's size can do a Caterpillar like that, like, there's too much setup, like, to go into that.
It's the same reason why the People's Elbow sucks. It's the same reason why the 5-knuckle shuffle sucks.
The Rock is my favorite superstar of all time, and I still bash the People's Elbow. But, to your point, The Miz kicks out. Very close 2 count, and then Tucker surprisingly hits Otis in the shoulder with the briefcase. Miz looks at Tucker and pins Otis. New Mr. Money in the Bank.
Okay, before I start complaining, there's one thing I will give the credit for. I didn't see that coming.
I didn't see it coming either. Like, I thought it would come later. Like, maybe Tucker would have cost Otis when he actually did cash in. I didn't think he was going to cost him right now. Like, I thought he would have cost him down the line.
It coming until I saw Tucker reaching for the briefcase, and I was like, they wouldn't do that, would they? And to give WWE credit for this, everybody thought that the New Day was going to turn on Kofi Kingston when he won the WWE Championship for the same reasons why Tucker turned on Otis. We never got that turn from the New Day. They went through with it with Tucker. I didn't see it coming. This is where the compliments end. Here we go. Number one. Like I said before, if they were going to put the briefcase on Otis, they should have followed through with it. Number two, Miz now has the briefcase. Let that sink in. The Miz
in
is Mr. Money in the Bank once again, which means they have plans to put the WWE Championship on the Miz. I have no problem with that. I don't.
Me neither.
But in the land of the Giants, with Monday Night Raw and all the star power that show has right now, Do you really think this is the time to put the title back on The Miz?
No.
When you got AJ Styles, when you got Drew McIntyre, when you got The Fiend, when you got Matt Riddle, when you got Elias.
When you've got John Morrison in his corner?
Exactly.
Like this was my only problem with this match. I gave the match 3 out of 5, but my only problem with this is this was the perfect time to rocket strap John Morrison to the to the WWE Championship in this case, because they're on Raw now. But people who follow me on Twitter know that I am a huge John Morrison fan, and I'm sitting there like, this guy is too damn good to be relegated to the Miz's sidekick. Again, nothing against the Miz at all, because he's great. But again,
also considering there are no tag teams on Raw right now. Do you really want to take this opportunity to put the WWE Championship on The Miz when him and Morrison could at least be used in the tag team division until you finally do that split up?
And they're like the only tag team left on Raw right now?
Yeah.
To fight the New Day?
So my next complaint. Fine. You want to turn Tucker heel? Cool. You want to have him feud with Otis? That's great. You drafted them to different shows.
Yeah.
If you didn't draft Tucker to Raw, this would be fine. Miz and Morrison would be on Raw doing their thing. Tucker and Otis could do their thing on SmackDown. But Tucker's on a different show now.
Yep.
Now, I know what everyone's thinking. Well, Tucker could just say, demand to be traded back to SmackDown. That's fine. Then why'd you trade him to Raw in the first place?
But then the draft is useless. Then why did you put Tucker on Raw in the first? Exactly.
And, I understand there's last-minute adjustments after the draft. You could do, trades and such sort. That's WWE's excuse just to put different people on different shows. But if you were going to do that, then why did you draft Tucker to Raw in the first place?
I don't know. I mean, that's something we'll get into later on in our 2002 retro also. But man, I mean, given the circumstances though, your rants aside, this match was very fun. I think it's honestly one of the better matches on the show.
Yeah, I actually gave it 2 3/4 star, and that 2 3/4 came from the ending, just because I was so shocked from it. We go to the back where I'm surprised that they followed up on this right after the match.
Yeah.
But Miz and Morrison get interviewed by Caleb Braxton, and Miz is just saying, he deserves the briefcase. All the stuff he's been saying on SmackDown. Tucker comes through, and I do appreciate Tucker at least saying, shut your mouth, Miz. This has nothing to do with you. This has everything to do with me and Otis. And then we actually get the follow-up to why Tucker turned on Otis right then and there.
And he explained it.
Wait till tomorrow night.
Right away. He explained it in a way that's easy for the audience to understand also. I mean, props to WWE for at least, executing the heel turn correctly here.
Yeah. I mean, Tucker did cut a good promo, and he had it. It made me kind of hate him a little more just because it wasn't fair, because Otis has been there for him this entire time. And, it's a lot like the New Day dynamic. Otis never left Tucker out of anything. It's just how WWE booked it. And then Otis comes out of nowhere. Again, instant gratification for a little bit. He attacks Tucker, and Miz and Morrison run away. Otis chases Tucker to the back. These two are going to end up on the same show. I don't know how. They're going to come up with a stupid reason to move Tucker back to SmackDown, or, God forbid, they move Otis to Raw. This is where they have to draft people. Once everything is set in stone, I don't think they should be doing stuff like this.
No.
Or they scrap the entire thing.
And this whole segment is pointless then if they scrap it.
And if you do remember, Otis did confront Sami Zayn backstage last week on Raw SmackDown. He could fight Sami Zayn, but at the same time, Sami Zayn also got into a conversation with Daniel Bryan on SmackDown. WWE, figure out what the fuck you want to do.
Daniel Bryan should not be fighting for the Intercontinental title at this phase. With how many, not as strong main event baby faces are on SmackDown right now, I think he needs to be in the Universal title hunt. Especially, my theory is Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble, but,
beside the point, just saying, my point being that WWE doesn't know what they're doing right now, but that's nothing new.
For sure.
But you know what? Despite all my complaints, again, emotion. I want emotion to be brought out of me as a wrestling fan. I don't want to be bored watching wrestling. I want to be emotionally invested. So thank you, at least, for bringing emotion out of me.
Yep. And speaking of emotion and speaking of SmackDown, Let's do this, my friend. 5 years in the making. Hell in a Cell match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley defending against Sasha Banks. Finally, we're getting this match on a main roster pay-per-view for the title.
The blow-off to this feud, a match 5 years in the making, a feud 3 years in the making. They teased Bayley and Sasha Banks turning on each other 3 years ago when they had nothing to do with them on Raw. Oh, and this was another match where the entrances felt special. Sasha Banks had some special ring attire. Yep. I love Bayley's outfit too. She was rocking some like a black, darker ring attire with a steel chair.
Yeah, that attire actually like brings up a good point. This match had a very street fight feel from the get-go.
Yeah, and another stat that they brought up is that there's only 3 Hell in a Cell matches contested with women. Sasha Banks has been on all 3. And I was like, oh yeah, she has. And just like all the other matches, both matches, she did very well in this match. This match was great. This match was fantastic.
This was my match of the night, for sure.
Even before the bell rung, they did this excellent spot where Bayley went to hit Sasha Banks with the chair. Banks drop-kicked it out of her hand. It went sailing under the ropes and out of the cell. And, they're saying,
the cell is
Bayley
locked.
doesn't have a chair now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, I know what you might be thinking. Like, well, Bayley can just get another chair. I'm like, well, the point is she doesn't have it right away. She's going to have to go into the ring and get another one. So that totally that was a great spot. Banks, that was clean. How she just kicked it out of her hands. It slid under the bottom rope and out of the cell. Whoop, there goes the chair.
Sasha Banks really does not get enough respect for how damn awesome she is.
She's great.
And Bayley too, for that matter. These two went out there, and I think their goal was to make this match better than the iconic TakeOver Brooklyn match from 5 years ago. I mean, I don't know if this match was better, but I think I'd have to watch this match again to know. But I certainly had a lot more fun watching this one over TakeOver Brooklyn. But man, where do I even start? Yeah, Sasha kicks Bayley's chair, which she actually had spray painted with the X and the 1 and O, which I'm assuming was referring to NXT TakeOver from 5 years ago.
They referenced that match. They referenced that match a lot.
They did.
Which, if you want to get technical, didn't they have an Iron Women match at the next TakeOver?
Oh yeah, they did. Didn't they?
So she's technically 2-0.
I completely forgot about that match. I'm so sorry.
I just remembered it now. That's okay. I just remembered that right now.
This match definitely felt like personal out of the get-go. Sasha starts punching Bayley over and over in the head. Punch, punch, punch. Ow, ow, ow is what I wrote down. But yeah, so she puts on the Banks statement immediately, and I was really terrified that was just going to be the end. Like, Bayley doesn't want to fight Sasha, and I'm like, okay, good. Bayley didn't tap out there. She actually bit Sasha's hand to escape the Banks statement at first, and I'm like, okay, I'm in.
There was some brutality in this one.
For some brutal stuff. Yep.
And they were doing a fun thing from the beginning where Bayley kept going for weapons, but Banks kept taking them away from her and throwing them out of the cell to be like, no, you don't get any weapons. Yep. Bayley got a kendo stick. Banks immediately snatched it away from her and threw the kendo stick through the hole out to the announce table, damn near hitting Michael Cole and Corey Graves as to no, you're not going to get the upper hand. Like, you've always had a leverage. I think it was representing like the leverage Bayley has always had as the champion, but now that it's just her and Banks one-on-one, like no more advantage.
Right. Yeah. Only for Sasha to grab a table from underneath the ring like 30 seconds later. Like, she's saying, "Nuh-uh, I don't need weapons," and then she goes out and grabs a table.
Well, more like she's not going to let Bayley have weapons, at least in the beginning part of this match.
Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of that table, they did some fun stuff with that table.
They did. She was driving Bayley into the cell wall using the weight of that table into the Bayley's ribs, and it was and then, oh man, she actually runs up and hits Bayley with a Meteora against the cell.
Meteora!
I was about to say Michael Cole lost his mind when he saw that.
There was a lot of Meteoras in this match.
There were way too many. Yeah. Oh, I bet he was.
I joke that's Michael Cole's favorite move. I think it's Sasha Banks' favorite move too.
Yeah. She does like to use that move a lot. Like, I mean, she could just use that as her finisher in all honesty, but the Banks statement is considerably better finisher. Yeah. But Let's see. So I wrote the very unique offense from Sasha Banks in
Oh
this match,
yeah.
not just with running up the table, but the thing she understands, and this is the thing this was the big praise that I had with her match against Becky Lynch from last year, which you and I were both lucky enough to be in the audience for that match too, which was fire. But
Unironically saying that match was excellent.
yes, yeah, but similar to that match from last year, Sasha really understands how to use the environment around her. Like,
Oh yeah. In
again,
the Hell in a Cell, definitely for sure.
yeah, she was bouncing off the cage. She was hitting Hurricane Ranas on Bayley to the point where she was going face first into the cell wall. Like, she actually does do the kendo stick
Yeah.
bridge in the cell also.
So that's the
shades of
point I
last
want to
year.
bring up. So for the past 10 or so years, everyone's been complaining, even, me to a certain extent, there's no more blood. Hell in a Cell matches are pointless without blood. Hardcore matches are pointless without blood. Bloodthirsty maniacs these wrestling fans are.
Yeah.
My thing is, I don't care if there's blood. You can have no blood in a match. Just be creative. Be creative with weapons. Be creative with spots. Make things look brutal. Make things look like they hurt. Don't just go out there and, oh, I hit you in the back with a steel chair. So hardcore. No. And this match was showing that you can do a good Hell in a Cell match and not have blood. I'm sure blood would have helped a lot in this match, but it's not about the blood. It's about the creativity.
It's about the brutality.
Yeah. I'll take creativity over blood any day.
And there was some brutality and some disgusting spots in this match. Sasha was catapulted into the kendo stick bridge. Sasha actually hit a sunset flip bomb into the cell wall, which made me kind of cringe.
That was beautiful, though.
It was a clean spot, though. Sasha was attempting to Pillmanize Bayley at one point, a callback to how this feud all started, like later in the summer this year. I can't remember exactly when that happened, but Bayley sends her face first into the seat in a really sweet counter. I was just like, that was
great.
So beautiful.
Yeah, and then they're fighting near the ring apron, and then Bayley goes and does the funniest thing in this match, and this was my favorite part of the match.
What?
So she goes over and grabs a couple more kendo sticks and some duct tape. So I'm wondering, I wonder what they're going to do. Also, when me and my girlfriend watch this match, she's going to make a joke. I know it for sure. With the duct tape, it's going to be hilarious. I'll tell you about that later. But she grabs the duct tape. She starts to try and undo the duct tape, but she can't. And she asks the referee, my hands are too sweaty. Can you do this for me? And the referee says, no, I will not do this for you. So she starts biting the tape, and she's taping the kendo sticks together in between the ring apron and the cell wall, and it's not staying. She starts yelling at Michael Cole for whatever reason.
Yeah, because he's Michael Cole.
She starts yelling at herself because she can't bite the tape off. So she leaves it there, looks at Michael Cole, goes around back to Banks, and then Michael Cole makes the greatest call of the night. Well, whatever Bayley was trying to do there was a mess, but she's done with it for now. And then she gets blasted in the face with a fire extinguisher.
What a great observation, Michael Cole. Yeah.
I feel bad for Bayley. Whatever, she was trying to do something there. I think I know what she was trying to do. She was trying to create she was trying to tape those two kendo sticks together, place them between the cell wall and the ring apron, and like slam Banks through them.
Yeah.
But when she taped it, the ends were not strong enough, so they were just limp. And I feel bad for her because that was probably the most awkward 60 seconds of her life.
Yeah.
And thank God Banks was able to recover by getting the fire extinguisher and blasting her in the face with it.
Yeah.
Again, that's a nitpick, but if I'm going to criticize this match at all, it's poor Bayley. Whatever she was trying to do, it was not working.
Thank God that kendo stick bridge did not come into the match at all or play into the finish of the match.
No, she gave up on it, basically.
Because honestly, when Bayley was asking the referee for help with the duct tape, and the ref refused help, I literally spat out my drink everywhere. I was like, no way I just heard that.
Yeah.
But
great ad-libbing by Bayley, though. It was a funny moment, but
yeah.
Again, Cole, whatever Bayley was trying to do there, it was a mess.
Yeah, but Sasha's come unglued at this point. Like, she is unloading with meteoras, and punches and kendo stick shots. I wrote down the quote, "You are not a role model," and I'm like, I mean, that's kind of Bayley's gimmick. I mean, that's what But Sasha goes with a frog splash, but Bayley gets that gimmicked chair up. I really don't know still who got the worst of that spot, in all honesty. Like, she hit
Probably
the frog
Banks.
splash.
Yeah, they were probably trying to. It's weird because if Bayley used it to defend, it hurts Banks. But if Banks would have put the chair on Bayley, they would have said Bayley got the worst of that. It's a weird perspective thing that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and Bayley follows that up with a vicious mic check on the floor, and somehow that's a 2 count. And Bayley's like, you know what? I'm going to get Team Extreme on her at this point. And she introduces a freaking ladder into this. And I'm like, what do you need a ladder for, Bayley? Like, but she bridges the ladder in between 2 chairs that are kind of, they're just kind of set up in the ring. She flapjacks Sasha into the ladder, and she like kind of bridges her on that little ladder also, and she brands Sasha with the X that's on the chair. She gets the spray paint, and I was
NWO
like,
style.
Bayley's a member of the NWO now? Like, what's going on? Like, yeah, but she goes up. She tries to hit Sasha with the chair. She misses, and that could not have been comfortable at all. Sasha launches off the ladder with another Meteora to the chagrin of Corey Graves, because Michael Cole's heart grows 3 sizes on this night with another Meteora. And Sasha hits another. Sasha actually hit a Bayley to belly in this, and I'm like,
great. That was a great spot.
I'm like, this is the end right here, and Bayley kicks out of her own finisher because, of course, she has to.
Which was weird because Bayley then hits her Bayley to Bayley, and I was scared that she was going to win the match right then and there.
Very close 2 count.
Yeah.
Very close.
Yeah.
Man, this match was awesome, guys.
Yeah.
The finish comes around finally. Bayley goes for the Bayley to belly with the chair, kind of like she's hugging Sasha, and she has the chair on Sasha's back. Sasha reverses that, drop toe holds Bayley into the chair. A bank statement while she's Pillmanizing Bayley with the chair for an assist, and Bayley's got no choice but to tap out. Finally, Sasha Banks is the SmackDown Women's Champion at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Ending the 380-day reign of Bayley, by the way, which is very, very strange for me to say, but
it's been over a year. Bayley held that title for over a year, and it didn't feel like it. It did not feel like it, but she
flew by.
And if you want, so this is what I was thinking about the other day when they brought up that she's been champion for a year. If you want to get really technical, remember at last year's Hell in a Cell, she lost the SmackDown Women's Championship to Charlotte Flair, and she regained it back 5 days later
when she cut her hair.
So if you think about it, not counting that week that she wasn't champion, Bayley has been the SmackDown Women's Champion since May of 2019.
Yeah.
She cashed in Money in the Bank. She held it until Hell in a Cell, where she dropped it to Charlotte Flair, regained it 5 days later, and then was champion for 380 days. So not with minus those 5 days in the middle of October of last year, Bayley held the SmackDown Women's Championship since May of 2019. And that is insane to think about.
Yeah, it's so awesome for her. 4 3/4 stars, honestly. Beautiful match. I mean, my only nitpick is that nobody went through the table that Sasha introduced. I mean, they used the table in, like, interesting ways, but I was like, someone's got to go through that at some point. But no,
I feel like that happens a lot in these modern no-holds-barred Hell in a Cell matches in WWE. A lot of elements get introduced that never get played for again. 4.5 stars for me. This was an excellent match.
So good.
Very excited to see, Sasha Banks with the SmackDown Women's Championship going here forward. Will the feud continue? Will they write Bayley off TV for a little bit so Sasha Banks can feud with the other women of SmackDown? Maybe they'll
Bianca Belair. Who else is on
Ruby
SmackDown?
Riott.
Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. Yeah, that could be anybody called up from NXT, at some point in the near future. I don't think that's going to happen right now because the NXT women's division is stacked at this point. So I don't think they want to take away from that.
I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with Sasha Banks and the SmackDown Women's Championship moving forward.
As far as this match goes, just one more thing. Bravo really felt like it belonged in Hell in a Cell. Now, I do have one last question for WWE higher-ups. Can we please give Sasha a long title reign this time?
Please, this is not the Raw
Like,
Women's Championship.
please.
Let her hold on to this
At
title.
least do a couple of pay-per-views. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to do a Bayley rematch at, like, probably TLC because, you know, you got Survivor Series and, you know, hashtag patent pending, brand warfare, under siege, trademark.
Considering Sasha Banks ended a 380-day title reign, you got to let her run with it.
Yes.
For, I say 6 months.
All right.
Not at least. I think 6 months is perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be fun to see what they do going on. So I'm thinking
match.
There's only 5 matches on this card. They got to have one more match. Cue the Hurt Business. Hurt Business is backstage. They said that they issued a challenge to anyone from Retribution because I just remember that they were
actually, what happened was that Retribution issued the challenge first on the kickoff show.
Okay, yeah, that's right. They did reference to that.
And Mustafa Ali, who was revealed to be this lame group's leader, should I get into this rant now?
Let's get into the match first. Let's get that.
Okay, all right. I really want to rant about this group.
We will. We'll get
Mustafa
into
Ali,
just like we did with Otis and Miz.
Mustafa Ali basically gives MVP an ultimatum. He's like, I'll put one of my members up against one of your members. And it's like, okay, so gang warfare, essentially.
Basically.
And
so
MVP
says, he puts Lashley up to the challenge and says, all up to Annie, nobody at ringside, one-on-one. Lashley will put his United States Championship on the line. They decide to pick Slapjack, who is Shane Thorne of Retribution. And there we go. Lashley is defending the United States Championship against Slapjack of Retribution.
Yes.
What a time we live in where I'm sitting there watching Lashley fight a guy in a clown mask.
Yeah, so Shane Thorne throws his shirt at Lashley, and Lashley punishes him for wearing a mask. Shouldn't Retribution be the baby faces for, like, advocating for mask wearing in 2020?
I don't know. I think there's a million reasons why the Retribution...
Yeah.
No, my head's hurting just by thinking about this. I'm not going to go through the match, except for one thing, is that Slapjack actually looked pretty good in this match, all things considered.
Shane Thorne hits a cannonball at one point. He hits a drop kick.
He had some fun offense.
He looks really good. But I mean, all things
Lashley
considered.
did his Lashley things, and he made Slapjack tap out to the full Nelson.
Hurt lock, and Shane Thorne taps out in the middle of the ring.
Or the full Lashley, or whatever the hell they want to call it this week.
Yes.
And then Retribution runs out, and then the Hurt Business runs out, and then aren't the Hurt Business bad guys? Aren't they bad guys? Aren't they the big bad stable on Raw?
May I?
Are they?
May I, please? Retribution is so fucking lame. Like, oh my God. So
Retribution has...
Yeah. So here's the thing.
4 or 5 of the most talented wrestlers in NXT in a stable that could work. I like the what's the word I'm looking for? The idea. I like the what's the word I'm looking for? It's on the tip of my tongue. I like the idea, the concept. I like the concept of Retribution. It could be cool. A bunch of masked invaders coming in to take over WWE. Where have I heard that one before?
Yeah,
the NWO,
so the NWO,
Nexus.
The Nexus, Aces and Eights, even though it's not in the... Here's
wrestling in general.
So imagine you're in 2012 and you're watching Impact like I was. You know, I was watching Impact actually because I thought it was really good. 2012, week to week, pretty religiously actually. I went through a phase where I was just watching Impact, and I see Aces and Eights come in, and I'm like, this is actually a pretty intriguing storyline. Like, who's behind all this? And, like, imagine what would happen if TNA higher-ups were looking at Aces and Eights and they were like, oh, shit, they're busting up the Impact Zone all over the place and we can't stop them. I know. Let's give them all high-paid contracts so they stop, and then we'll put them on free TV. That's what they did with Retribution. Even TNA knew better.
Even with the Nexus did their thing, but WWE never straight up just said, oh, here's contracts for these guys. They at least said, hey, if you're going to come and wreck our shit, you got to earn it. Retribution took a chainsaw to the ring.
And they offered them contracts.
You should be calling the police.
They offered them contracts for breaking up their broadcast.
Grand arson, vandalism, assault on employees. They shouldn't be working for WWE. They should be in prison.
Yeah. It's Mustafa Ali, Dominic Dijakovic, Mia Yim, Shane Thorne, and Dio Madden should all be convicts at this point. But they're not. They're just all masked weirdos following Mustafa Ali around, who was like,
for whatever reason.
Listen, I'll give the performers credit where it's due because they are trying their damnedest to make this work. Silly names and all, which I refuse to call them by those shitty names WWE gave them.
Too bad. That's what their names are.
They're not. No, that's Shane Thorne that fought Bobby Lashley. But
Slapjack fought Lashley for the United States Championship.
That was Shane
I can't
Thorne.
wait to look back on that. I can't wait to look back on that in 3 years.
That was Shane Thorne. I'm breaking kayfabe. But here's the thing. If WWE actually knew what they were doing with this group, again, they could be really cool. You know, Retribution could earn their way in. I mean, granted, a lot of people might be like, oh, these are just aces and eights knockoffs that they're just going to reveal who these guys are. That's why I revealed them to you right now, so you guys are not surprised. So,
I understand it's also professional wrestling and you have to have some sort of suspension of disbelief. But it's just that WWE is so inconsistent with these guys. They show up 1 week and have, oh my goodness, it's Retribution. What are we going to do? And then they're gone for 2 weeks. They don't, At least the Nexus was screwing up main events to pay-per-views. They screwed up the main event to Fatal 4-Way. They screwed up the main event to Money in the Bank. At least they were a constant issue to the point where the biggest stars in the WWE had to form a super mega team that had Bret the Hitman Hart on it to take care of these guys in the main event at SummerSlam. Retribution are so inconsistent. You want to talk about inconsistency? How about the Hurt Business? How about these 4 big fatties that they've been building up since WrestleMania, and all of a sudden we're picking on Apollo Crews. They were picking on Ricochet. They were picking on Cedric Alexander. They forced Alexander to turn heel and join the Hurt Business. And now you want me to turn around and think they're baby faces?
Well, I mean, those Hurt Business shirts are probably selling like hotcakes, so they might have been forced to turn the Hurt Business babyface to fight Retribution. But, and I mean, see, the Hurt Business is a really cool heel group. Right? Like, that's honestly straight out of TNA also. Like, they turned, if you remember, they turned the main event Mafia baby faces so they could fight aces and eights. And it just did not feel right. Like, I feel like they're just fast forwarding like through the whole
they are, and I'm not I wouldn't have such an issue with the Hurt Business being baby faces if they didn't just turn Cedric Alexander heel.
Yeah.
If anything, and I know you'll disagree with this, and I'm not crazy about it either. If anything, Retribution should be the baby faces. At least they could come in and say, "Hey, we're these weirdo, crazy looking guys.
Rebels. Rebels.
We're the rebel group, but at least we're gonna beat the hell out of these, bullies that are the Hurt Business."
Mustafa Ali. I mean, granted, this could be your tag team division. I mean, I was just talking about Miz and Morrison with you earlier, but this could be like some solid face, like, not faces, but like these could be some solid tandems to fight the New Day. Because honestly, my theory, this is not my theory that I've been building up, but Mustafa Ali, I think, has a legitimate gripe with Kofi Kingston, and I think he's got a bone to pick with him. So expect the New Day versus Retribution at some point down the line.
If they decide to do anything competent with Retribution, because you know what? Putting some titles on them would actually help their credibility a little.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make do with what WWE has given us. But yeah, to your point.
So this was less about the United States Championship match, and this is us more complaining about the shit-ass booking.
Yeah,
that is
so
Retribution versus
back to that match, by the way.
By the way, are we going to get that at Survivor Series, Hurt Business versus Retribution?
Yeah.
Elimination style?
Shane Thorne, immediately taps out to the Hurt Lock, and then Retribution after the bell, because they're a respectful group of rebels. That's when they decide to attack Bobby Lashley, and Bobby Lashley is fighting all them off by himself. He doesn't need his friends to come out.
And then the Hurt Business decides to come out.
Yeah. Like, none of this makes any sense. I gave the match 2 stars, all things considered, because the guys are good workers.
Yeah, me too. I will say, because Slapjack and Lashley actually did some wrestling.
Yeah, Lashley was throwing Shane Thorne around for quite a while, but
if you put Lashley in the ring with smaller guys, he actually works damn well. So credit to them. This was a filler match just to give us breathing room between Bayley and Sasha Banks and the main event for the WWE Championship.
Before we get to that, so if you think I'm done with ranting on this show, think again. They air an ad for the Survivor Series pay-per-view next month, which is supposed to celebrate 30 years of The Undertaker. Now,
Gee,
if
you think The Undertaker is just going to come out and cut a promo?
Let The Undertaker fucking retire. He doesn't want to wrestle anymore. If you're just hyping this up for a promo, it's like, I mean,
no, that was a sarcastic remark because I would like to think that, but they're building the goddamn pay-per-view around it, just like they did in 2015 when it was. I can't believe it's been 5 years since that 25th anniversary show of Undertaker. Now they're doing a 30 years anniversary. You know why they're doing this? It just realized to me. Chris Jericho just did his 30 years on AEW.
Yep.
This is WWE's way of one-upping them. And that literally just came into my mind. That just came to mind right now.
I don't know, man. But
WWE's like, oh, hi, you think you're cool because you have Chris Jericho? Well, we got The Undertaker. Taker, come out of retirement for the 5th time.
He doesn't want to wrestle anymore. Anybody who watched the last Ride documentary will know that. But just let him retire, guys.
And to make it worse, Taker's totally broken kayfabe now.
Yep.
He's 100% broken kayfabe.
Unless
he's sharing stories online. They've released footage of him fucking around backstage. He's doing talk shows now. He never did that stuff. He never did interviews.
Unless he rides out to a Kid Rock song on a motorcycle, I don't want to hear anything about this gimmick. But I love the man.
Yeah, because Taker is officially, because that's the big thing. Taker refused to break kayfabe. His entire run with WWE. Refused to break kayfabe unless he was biker. He never did PR. He never did meet and greets because he stayed true to his character. But he's broken all that now. He's doing interviews. He's doing virtual meet and greets. He's sharing stories. WWE is sharing footage of him out of character backstage. So the mystique of The Undertaker, at least on
gone.
Mark Calloway's perspective, it's gone. You know, he hung it up. There's no way they're not going to use Taker a Survivor Series because they're building the pay-per-view around him now, just like they did 5 years ago.
I swear, if we get Roman versus Taker for the 7th,
it's not going to be a big match like that, but they'll find someone, whether it be on
in front of
SmackDown.
TVs, no less. Like, good Lord. But anyway, speaking of main events, we got the WWE Championship match to talk about inside Hell in a Cell for the 3rd time tonight. Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. And I wrote down Drew McIntyre, first of all, main eventing for the first time since he won the title at WrestleMania, which is preposterous. And I also wrote down, why is Drew entering first? With a lot of
questions. And we got that question answered very quickly.
Explain. You know,
the new master of disguise. First he was a janitor, now he's a cameraman. McIntyre's making his way to the ring. You see the cameraman put down his camera, take off his mask, and it's Randy Orton. Randy Orton is the new master of disguise, ladies and gentlemen. He attacks McIntyre from behind, and the brawl is on. And when they were brawling around the ring, I saw them go to the announce table, and I noticed, oh, that's a crash pad.
Someone's taking a bump in front of a bunch of TVs. So it's just a matter of who it was going to be. But Drew blocks that suplex that Orton did so well on the Singh brothers a couple of years back on that announce table, but he blocks it. He brings Orton into the ring and he slams the door shut behind him, Undertaker style. And I'm like, all right, it's going down. Drew McIntyre, God, Drew's chops must hurt. Like, my goodness, they're so loud. Yeah, and Randy Orton is, I did not want to be Randy Orton in that moment, but he blocks the RKO, and then they fight for a little bit on the outside. And I wrote down, there's your trailer shot of Orton in agony. I don't remember if it was how they usually hype up the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view every year, just showing shots of the guys just like in so much pain, like up against
the cage wall.
We got shots of Orton and Drew both like that on this night. So there you go. Take that what you will. Drew was rope-a-doping Randy Orton throughout this entire first portion of the match, but that's when the steel chair was introduced. Randy Orton uses that chair pretty well. He puts the chair to Drew's jaw.
Yeah. So what I've noticed from all 3 of these cell matches is that they were actually pretty unique in their own, in their own way. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso was built around the I Quit stipulation and the sheer emotion that I talked about. Bayley and Sasha Banks was the spot fest. And now Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre is that slow, methodical pace that Orton is known for. But it's that you've seen those Hell in a Cell matches where they're slow and methodical and they take their time, like punishing their opponent. And, you really like wanted to just sit there and just get immersed in the environment that is Hell in a Cell. So that's another thing I'm going to give WWE credit for.
You know what this was? It felt to me like an old school mid-'80s NWA main event.
Oh, yeah.
Very methodical. Randy Orton.
A lot of psychology.
Yeah. And Randy Orton, you want to talk psychology. He's, a master at it. And Drew McIntyre is Drew McIntyre. He's the face of the company. But
so that's another thing I'm going to give WWE credit for. They had 3 Hell in a Cell matches, which was a bit, but they made every Cell match feel unique.
Yes. Yeah. It was great touch there. Yeah. It's very well put, I think. And he's stomping Drew's head into the steel steps also, which could not have been fun at all. And I wrote down a quote, "I see a big Scott getting his ass kicked."
Yeah, that was a good line right there.
Randall Keith Orton, you poet, you. Randy Orton with a thumb to the eye. This is not under eye for an eye match rules, just a reminder to my viewers. Drew McIntyre whipped shoulder first into the steps, and Drew is selling this beating so well. Like, chef's kiss. Loud chops, the vintage Randy Orton backbreaker for a 1 count. A 1 count. Again, that's the thing that I've enjoyed so much about these Drew title matches over this past year or so. The psychology. Earlier on in the match, he kicks out at 1. And, as more damage is being dealt to him as he's getting into the Here Comes the Pain red, then he starts kicking out at 2.
No, they also brought up a really good point saying that they referenced the Brock Lesnar match at WrestleMania a lot. And they said that throughout that entire match, Drew McIntyre said, the more Lesnar hit me, the more pissed I got. So they played that into a lot of his matches. The more punishment Drew McIntyre takes, the more mad he gets and the stronger he comes back.
And Drew looks so pissed off in this match. He was so fired up. Just beautiful overhead belly-to-belly suplex. Drew went for a future shock, which I wanted to see him hit at least once, but countered. Belly-to-belly on Orton through a table, which Orton actually introduced, and he actually had leaning up against the cell wall. I completely forgot to mention that. But belly-to-belly on Orton through the table. And then there's filtered "This is awesome" chants from the Thunderdome, and I'm legitimately curious. Where were those chants during Bayley versus Sasha?
Yeah. And also I thought those chants were being introduced a little too early into the match. WWE, you have full control of crowd noise right now, so take advantage of that and learn. If you know what's going to happen, you got monkeys in the truck. They should know when to sync up the right chants to the right moments. And I know they're still working on it. You could tell earlier with Elias because they tried to time it perfectly with the WWE stands for a walk with Elias. And I know you're going to have some hiccups here and there, but know when to pipe in the chants at the right time.
But, it gets to that point. Low blow by Randy Orton. He hits his vintage rope hung DDT for another 1 count. Thank you, Drew, for your psychology. But then Orton grabs the bolt cutters. And he cuts the chain off, and the cell door is open. And I'm like,
if this wasn't wrestling and you weren't actually in a real fight in a cell, you think you'd use that bolt cutters to stab your opponent with. But unfortunately, this is pro wrestling, and you can't do that.
Nope. You cannot kill your opponents like you can in a movie. For example, I wrote down, what reason does Orton have to climb? And I'm like, oh, so he is escaping Drew, maybe, and he's daring Drew to climb up there with him, and Drew obliges, and they're fighting up on top of the cell, and I got really, really scared because I noticed the cell was, bending under Drew specifically. I'm like,
and notice with those Thunderdome screen panels around there, I thought that was an interesting view to see.
It was a weird visual.
Yeah, it's like they were fighting on the inside of a scoreboard.
yeah, with some drones put up there to kind of shoot it, which, they do use the drones really well, but
fighting
glad to see
Vanguard 1 is still getting work.
Yes. But Orton introduces a red lead pipe that was hiding on top of the cell, and he hits him with it, of course. But then he starts climbing down to escape him, and then Drew follows him. And then here comes the big spot of the match. Randy Orton pries Drew's fingers off of the cell wall, and Drew goes crashing through the table down below. And
Yeah, that's
like,
when I noticed.
Shit.
When I noticed the crash pad, I realized someone's going through that, but neither of these men are Shane McMahon, so no one's crazy enough to jump off of that cell. They're gonna do the John Moxley Seth Rollins bit from 2014, where they're hanging off the side of the cell, and then because someone's gonna go to the table. Still a brutal looking spot.
It really
if I might say so.
Because Drew was coughing up blood.
Yeah, I was gonna say McIntyre took some impact, and he was selling that spot very well.
Yep, and he was still moving, even though he was coughing up blood.
Yeah, excellent
this
storytelling.
guy's the man. He's the man right here.
Orton allowed McIntyre to climb around the cell and get back into the ring, and that's when I started getting nervous. I started getting very, very nervous.
Yeah.
And McIntyre first counters the RKO into a backslide pin, which is how he beat Randy Orton at SummerSlam.
Callback.
Which was countered out into a beautiful Claymore. I jumped out of my seat at that point, but then realized Orton rolled out of the ring, and then that's when the ending, you could see it from 100 miles away. McIntyre drags Orton back into the ring, goes for a Claymore, misses. Orton hits the RKO. We have a new WWE champion.
Pour one out for Drew, get everybody.
WWE couldn't resist. They couldn't resist for Randy Orton.
They really couldn't. I mean, all things
pros
considered.
And cons. Yeah, pros and cons time.
Yeah, all things considered, I will give the match 4.5 stars. I think this was another fantastic matchup between these two. I thought the ambulance match was way more fun. But again, here's the thing. Randy Orton in 2020 as your WWE champion. If you were going to do that, I would have done that last month. But
yeah.
It took him 3 tries.
Time. First of all, I didn't think I thought the match was very good. Maybe not that high of a rating. I gave it a 3 3/4. Again, all the matches were unique in their own way. Pros and con time. I know Randy Orton has been the hottest he's been in years since he turned heel in January on Edge. And I understand WWE wanted to strike while iron's hot. This is the guy you have to beat Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. But at the same time, Drew McIntyre is white hot. I think he's hotter than Randy Orton. I think they should have just kept going with Drew McIntyre.
They should have.
And I know there's a lot of people that are going to be saying, "Oh, well, he can just win the championship back." But I'm just like, the longer the reign, the better.
And this is actually where I'm going to get into my theory. First of all, let me just say, I am pissed off that Drew's not the champion anymore. But here's the thing. I know everybody wanted Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns at the Survivor Series next month. But honestly, with how white hot both of them are at the moment, do you really think that was a good idea to book them against each other? You knew it was probably going to end in a schmoz anyway.
You could say the same thing about AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, but I mean,
you also could say the same thing about putting a freshly turned heel Daniel Bryan against Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
I just think the top babyface versus the top heel would have been a good matchup for Survivor Series.
It would have been really good.
I'm very, very curious what they're actually going to do with Survivor Series now. Because I don't think you put the two biggest heels in the company against each other.
I think at this stage, honestly, Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns would be a fresher matchup than Drew versus Roman, because we have seen them. Drew and Roman fought countless times over these last couple of years. And I'm sure there's some people, especially higher ups in WWE, that probably don't want to see Drew versus Roman again. But maybe wait a while.
But with this dynamic, with Drew McIntyre being a babyface and Roman Reigns being the heel.
Yeah, that's very true. But again, I just don't something's got to give at that point. And I don't think WWE wanted to really give up, Drew losing to Roman or vice versa. So, I mean, Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns, it's not the match that's ideal, but you can have Roman beat the shit out of him, and then Miz can cash in Money in the Bank, because keep in mind, Miz still has the briefcase.
Which I actually it was in the back of my mind during this match. And
Yeah.
I had a feeling if Drew McIntyre was going to – I knew Drew McIntyre after Miz – during this match, actually, I realized that Drew McIntyre is not walking out of this building with the WWE Championship, whether it be Randy Orton winning or damn well if McIntyre would have squeaked out a win, they would have sent Miz out there.
They probably would have sent Miz out there, and honestly, I wouldn't have been upset if Miz came in and cashed in during the match, like a la WrestleMania 31, and like pinned Randy Orton, for example, to protect Drew. But I don't know. WWE just is really adamant about putting the title on Orton. And here's where the theory comes in leading into WrestleMania, because I'm one of those people that is like, this is not the end of Drew McIntyre in the WWE title scene, because damn well he's going to win it again. Like, this is not the end. So here's my thing. I'm reading on the dirt sheets that WWE really wants to do Randy Orton versus Edge at WrestleMania again. But I'm like, I don't, as much as I love Edge, he should not be beating Orton for the title. So my theory is Orton versus Edge do their thing at the Rumble. And Edge loses by nefarious means, probably to The Fiend, because Edge versus The Fiend, I think, would be pretty interesting for WrestleMania, if I say so. Drew McIntyre enters the Royal Rumble, wins it for the second year in a row, and then gets his proper WrestleMania moment in front of actual people winning the title. So I don't think this is the end for Drew. I think he's going to win it back probably around Mania when he actually does have people in front of him to celebrate with. But heck, what do I know? I'm just a logical WWE booker, I guess. I don't know.
It's an interesting concept, and it's definitely, as we go into, we're getting into pre-WrestleMania season right now, where everyone is going to start, speculating going into Survivor Series, and especially the end of the year. This is the time of the year where we start speculating who's going to win the Royal Rumble, who's going to be champions going into WrestleMania. And especially after the Rumble happens, we're going to, whatever is happening in January, plans are going to start being set in stone. And I feel like this is going to be an opposite of last year, hopefully, fingers crossed, in the sense with we were all hyped going into WrestleMania just to find out nobody was going to be there. Now we're a little more skeptical about WrestleMania this year, but I think it's going to end up being a lot better than we think it is.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's the optimist in me.
And I think it's totally fair that Tampa's getting it this upcoming year because they were kind of gypped out of it with this whole with everything going on right now. But
literally what 2 or 3 weeks before Mania happened.
That's But that's what I think. I don't think Drew is done in this title scene by any means. Like I said, he's the face of the company at this point, and he did a damn good job carrying the company on his back during this time. He's the champion that we all needed right now. And now that things are starting to slowly kind of start circulating again, things are kind of getting back to normal in a sense.
Not
everything.
Wheels are starting to move. No. Yeah. The wheels are starting to move,
Yeah, and I think things are starting to fall into place. I think I am not opposed to another Drew McIntyre coronation, and I'm certainly not opposed to him winning his second Rumble in a row. A lot of people want Big E to win the Royal Rumble, and I wouldn't be opposed to that either. But here's the thing. You can
get Big E into the Universal Championship picture without the Royal Rumble win.
Yeah.
There's a million other ways. There's the Elimination Chamber. There's tournaments. There's Battle Royals. There's number one contenders matches. They'll find a way.
A lot of people
Big E could just straight up challenge Roman Reigns. If Roman Reigns can do that to Goldberg, who's to say Big E can't do that to Roman Reigns?
That is how he got the title match, didn't he? He just walked up to Goldberg and he said, "I'm next," and I'm like, "Well, fuck you." Goldberg just beat the Fiend.
If you're going with, because if you're going with that theory of WWE may want to redo WrestleMania this year because of last year, we never got Roman Reigns versus Goldberg.
Oh God.
Keep that in the back of your mind.
Please.
Just keep that in the back of your mind. I know.
No, just get Roman versus Goldberg out of the way earlier. Don't do it at Mania, please. But I mean,
just keep that in the back of your mind.
Hell in a Cell 2020, though, this was the show that I wanted last year when I drove up 2 hours to go and see it. Over 2 hours, actually. But here it is. It's a great show.
This was a very fun show. I had very low expectations for it, but it delivered, and I'm actually going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Oh, okay. See, I gave it an 8.75 out of 10, mainly because I'm still peeved that Drew lost.
Oh
But
yeah, very fun things. I feel like all of my complaints were nitpicks, and
yeah,
a lot of things could get fixed on TV.
or
But the
later
matches
on.
were excellent. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
matches were excellent.
nothing really to complain about here. But guys, to my viewers, thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, thank you for listening to us ramble on for as long as we have. How long have we been
Yeah,
recording? It's been a while, but
we appreciate it.
yeah. Tomas, of course, thank you for joining me. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Oh yeah.
Always a blast. Look forward to, of course, more fun content like this coming very soon to the channel. I've got my final 2 Halloween playlist videos coming very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for those, and of course more podcasts just like this. We'll probably be breaking down Halloween Havoc maybe on Wednesday, so maybe keep your eyes peeled out for that. King of the Ring 2002 is coming up in our retros, and of course you got Survivor Series next month, so yeah, lots of cool stuff to look forward to. If you guys are enjoying all this content, if you want to keep up to date with all that, please consider hitting subscribe as hard as you possibly can. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed. You guys are awesome. Look forward to more fun content. Without that being said, back talk, commence.